Hi, welcome back to Renee Ruth Real Estate. Hope everyone is doing well.
Welcome back.
Renee, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. You feeling good?
Yes. That's what I was just telling Chad. It's so weird. I feel like been in a fog for 4 months. So go back and listen to all those podcasts. I don't remember them.
We're not quite sure.
I don't know.
It's all documented though.
It's out of body.
Well, we've had a lot of people asking, so I felt like it was only appropriate today that we would talk about lead generation.
Oh my gosh, it's so crazy you say that because people keep asking me to do stuff now, and one of them was related to an interview I did, icon interview, and they're putting together some sort of something. And this weekend, I'm supposed to write like a 1,500-word essay on lead generation. Did you read that? So he's in my email. Did you not see that?
I didn't see that one.
So I have to talk about this.
Oh, interesting.
Because they said, well, what do you want? They're like, what topics do you want to talk about? And I was like, well, open houses or, specifically, or lead gen in general.
Yeah.
And then they landed, they're like, yeah, we want lead gen because everyone wants to know, how do I get my leads?
Everyone wants to know. Well, because that's the thing. Like,
okay, are you giving me leads? That's everybody. Are you giving me leads? Oh.
Well, because leads are basically what makes or break an agent. Like, if you don't have clients, you're not selling houses.
Your family's only so big.
Right, exactly.
Your friend circle's only so big. Where are you going next?
Well, and for you weren't even in a town where you had anybody, so you couldn't even start there.
And my friends didn't use me.
I tried.
No, I remember. He did. No, but when I first started, this is so funny because I don't think I started and thought, oh, I sing at a restaurant. My then husband owns the restaurant. Like, oh, I'll have a pool of people. But I think in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, like these are people I've invested in for years, for filming whatever. So when I got my license, I was like, one by one hear that they're selling or buying. And I'm like, they're telling me. And I'm like, I'm an agent. None of them. I had one friend actually say, I won't use you because I don't use friends because it complicates things. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
Aggressive.
That is aggressive.
It's really funny how people think about real estate, like how they feel about people handling their money or their, and funny enough, one of them was friends of my ex-husband and they used someone else to sell and it wasn't selling. And so when the bar, they're trying to get me to help them, like, what can we do to get this to sell? And I'm like, you should have asked me to help.
Right, you didn't want to use me. Which isn't that so funny because it's like when we're looking for like doctors and we're looking for accountants, like we're looking for people that we are comfortable with.
And that we ask our friends and like that's who we tend to use.
So then why would you not use the same school of thought for real estate?
So I started my career with a whole lot of no help. And I mean, some of them it was that like if you're an agent watching this, you know that your town's got a lot of them, and someone's cousin is one, or someone's this is one, or you like start with somebody and they take a year off hunting, and next thing you know, their sister has her so that stuff happens, but literally no.
Right.
Chad's like the only, and you weren't when I first I'd already been in for a minute by the time you came back.
Yeah, because I think it was like 2018 or something like that. I think.
Yeah,
and you
like
had
when I first started, there's nobody. So I was like, I had to rely on absolute strangers.
That's so
and
crazy.
build a rapport with them so they know, liked, and trusted me. Because that's the thing. Your whole warm market of family and friends should be easy because they're supposed to know, like, and trust you. So I had a moment where I'm looking at everyone in my life, I'm like, are we really friends? Do you not trust me?
Do you not think?
Do you not know me? Do you not like me? Which one of those do you not?
Right. Come on.
Because otherwise, why?
Yeah, seriously.
It's wild.
That's wild. Well, so I thought that I would throw out some lead generation options, and then you say if you think they're good. Comment on them. What do you think? And then we'll kind of go from there. Sound good? All right, so obviously there's a whole podcast on this one, but it's fine.
You should go back and watch it.
You should watch them, but open houses.
Yeah, so when I was, look, we're going to make this about my life.
Right.
All the lead gen questions you have, I'm going to make it about my life. So when I was starting and none of my friends and family, I have no family here, so that was not an option.
Right, no. So
it was just friends. I had in-laws. When none of them would use me. I was like, okay. So I remember I was driving down the road, I've told the story, and I was, you're looking at everyone driving, you're like, there's so many people in the city that I don't even know. And some of them have lost, someone passed away, sadly, or, someone's graduating or empty nest, or like, there's always, and we talked about this in the past, like there's usually always a big life change that accompanies a move. It's never just a move.
Right.
Carl Miller talked about that in his podcast. It's never just a move. So I'm driving, I'm like, how do I meet these people that need my help and my services? So, by the way, I've never done this before. So how do I get them to like trust? Now, I was very lucky, and this is something I recommend to all agents, which is one of the reasons I like EXP, because you're not an island. Like, you can leverage the success of somebody in our agency as you do your job, because I was a good friend of mine was an agent, a very successful one. So I was able to leverage his success. Like, oh, well, you know, I work with him, and you know, so maybe that helped. But I also think it's kind of like when I first started teaching university when I was 24, and I walked into class and I just acted like I've been doing it forever, and they didn't question it. Like, there's no student looked at me and go, but because of how young I was, my favorite thing to do was to sit in the back of the class like I was a student.
Oh, that's
and then
amazing.
like class is supposed to start, like listening to them talk, and then I just pick my stuff up and walk in front. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be your teacher, and then be like, what? You're not in the class.
What?
No, I'm teaching the class. So I mean, I've been down that road. I guess I had a lot of that to lean back on, because I had at a very young age was thrown into situations I was not qualified for, equipped for, but I had to at least act like I was. So in real estate, you know, like I the big hurdle was, how do I find them?
Right.
To then be able to convince them I'm capable. So open houses, when I started, again, the friend that I'm referring to had mentioned that was going to be a non-negotiable. And I really actually appreciate the candor he gave me. He's like, though some of it wasn't entirely true, but he was like, this is going to be so hard. It'll take you forever to build your business. He said, you know, you're going to have to do open houses every weekend if you want to ever make a living. You know, you have to give this up and that. Like, he gave me a list of like hard facts. It was just kind of like, if you accept these, if you accept this challenge, you stand a chance of success. And so I was like, okay. So the challenge was then finding. So actually, our open house podcast garnished a message from a guy in what's up, Jay? He's in Florida, and he messaged me. He's like, I saw your open house podcast. He's like, and I went and asked everyone in my brokerage, and they all said no. So I had that happen.
Wow.
Well, when I first started, I was lucky because that friend had a listing at the time, and so I was able to, like, you know, he obviously let me do that. And I had a need when I switched to my second brokerage. We went together, but there were 50 agents, and it was more of an indie, like, super laid back, hands off brokerage. So hard to get someone that, like, there are people that had listings, like many listings, and I would write them and be like, hey, I saw these 3 houses. Love to see if any of your clients would be, you know, I wrote a lovely little letter.
Yeah.
Crickets. And I'm like, I get it. Because as an agent, you're like, I see what you're doing. You're trying to make money, which is why I never treat an agent. Like, if they ask for an open house, I never get upset. I'm like, someone did that for me. Maybe not everybody, but some of them did it for me. If they hadn't done it for me, I don't know how I would have built my business. So, you know, like the gems are if you can find like a brand new build, because nobody cares. There's no seller really involved.
Right.
They are actually thrilled to have people pumping through it. So I lucked out one summer. There was a brand new build that wasn't moving, and I was able to kind of get in there every single Sunday. And I remember some Sundays nobody came through. So, and then I remember one Sunday, 11 unattached buyers. Like, I walked out, I was like, I hit the goal. The crazy thing was, like, it was too many. Like, I didn't get enough time. I found out they were all without agents, but I didn't have enough time because they were coming through the door so fast to build a relationship with all of them in a sustainable way. And it turned out that much work for that many more people resulted in the same as, like, if 4 had come through.
Right.
You know, because I was like, had they always been that busy, I would have brought in like a lender or somebody that could help me foster those relationships, because it's too much motion. So yeah, my entire, you know, not entire, I think 80% of what started the build for my business in terms of buying and selling was open houses. And just, I didn't see, like, there wasn't a Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, I was there. You know, I think Christmas Day, if it fell on a Sunday, obviously. New Year's Day, I was there. So, what else are you going to do on New Year's Day? What are they going to, like, you have to think about it as a consumer. Holidays are the perfect time because they're at home, they're with family. They're Easter Sunday, I was there.
Yeah. So why would a listing agent not want you to do an open house? Like, that doesn't make sense to me, because obviously they have it listed, which means that they need a buyer for their seller. So if they're not doing open houses every weekend, why on earth would they not want someone coming through that's going to buy?
I was told a number of things because I said the same thing. I was like
that just doesn't make sense to me.
I was told a number of things. So there's a few, and this is what I was going to share with Jay. I offered to let Jay join a training call because I was going to share this with Jay. The first thing you need to do is not act like you need a buck from that listing agent, right? So you want to go into that listing agent and present, like, here's the value I'm going to add for your seller and you, because otherwise the listing agent could be at risk of that seller being upset if you're not actually doing a substantial job.
Got it.
So it's kind of that same idea. Like, I actually had a situation where I had a seller and I let an agent go and they showed up late. Like, they did stuff, but it came back on me.
Oh, because you're the listing agent.
Yeah. So there's like a risk, I think, which is why I would have said to Jay if we spoke, I was like, you need to craft a very well-worded letter that's going to say what you will do in the 5 to 7 days preceding the open house to promote that open house, to add value. So, and what are you going to do? What you're going to provide a lead list for them when, like, for example, obviously if the buyer isn't attached, you can still provide, like, hey, these number of people came through, but probably wouldn't give the listing agent their name and number.
Right.
But like, if they have an agent, then what I would always do is, if they'd had an agent, I'd say, hey, I'm going to collect any buyers with agents. I'll get their agent information, the buyer's information, the agent's information, so you can follow back up, right? So there's like a follow through. Like, if it's vacant, I was less aggressive because it's more of you're doing them a huge favor to keep that door open. But like, yeah, and then sometimes it could just be something as catty. Like, there's some agents who think that if they do that, they're losing business. I was told that they could feel like they're somehow losing business because you're finding the buyer, not them finding the buyer. Like, there's some psyche stuff that can go on sometimes, I was told. I feel like the first one's a little more critical, which is why you really want to establish yourself as an asset in an open house situation.
Yeah,
and fair. Like, I will make sure all the lights are on and off. I will be there on time. I'm going to provide cookies. I'll have open house signs out by Thursday night. Like, especially if it's occupied. And then especially if it's occupied, make sure you are collecting full names, full numbers, and email addresses. God forbid something goes missing while you are in that home. You need to have a place to go back to. I mean, thankfully, knock on wood, that's never happened to me. Like, I've never had an open house with an issue. Isn't that remarkable?
That is remarkable.
That we open our doors and let strangers go through. And there isn't more instances of, like,
you would think.
Theft.
Yeah, that is curious.
Isn't that remarkable?
That is remarkable.
I'm actually just like thinking about that, going, that's what a testament to humanity.
Yeah.
Like, I think we sometimes give humanity a bad rap, but all over the world we do this.
All over, yeah. No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but again, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So if you want to do an open house, just ask.
Oh, look, I remember it was more recent too. I'd run out of open house options, and a friend of mine had his house listed with an agent in a different brokerage. I happened to know this broker. The broker of that brokerage was super laid back, because I tried this with my other friend. We ended up switching brokerages, and I tried to do one of his opens, and that broker said no, because I'm not in the same brokerage. That is their prerogative.
Right.
And, I was a little bummed out about it, but that didn't let me stop. No. That didn't stop me. So the next friend, I said, would you care if I did it? He said no. It was vacant, the home. So I hit up the agent. I said, hey, we have a mutual friend. It's your client. He's giving me permission. Are you? And I think I might have cornered him a little bit like that. And he's like, he's giving me permission. Would you? Like, I really am just looking for an open house to be at on Sunday. And he goes, yeah, I don't care. So, like, yeah. So
there you go. Some of them don't.
They don't, because it's no, the only, well, in our state, the law is just that someone hosting must be an agent. Like, I couldn't get you to host for me.
I can't host one.
Right. Sure. But, each agency, the broker of each agency could have varying rules. Like, our broker has no rules that I'm aware of with outside people doing an open house.
Right. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
How do you feel about cold calls? Who likes a cold call? Nobody.
Yes, there is people.
There are people. I know, right?
I'm blown away. I love dialing for dollars. I just, did I tell you I worked in a call center once?
Oh, I did too.
We share these jobs that we've had in the past. It's like, when did you do that?
Mine was the calls were coming in. It was not cold calling.
Mine was an auto dialer. So we were going out. It was so mental. I think in my youth, like in summers, I just picked up whatever job I could.
Right.
And this particular one, it was a cold, I'll never forget. We were like little worker bees. There was this person with a headset that like ran all of us and watched all of us. And like we had to, so you came in at 8:00 and you didn't have to clock in because what would happen is you'd open the computer and it would start dialing.
Oh, wow.
So you couldn't leave.
Yeah.
Like if you had to go to the bathroom, you had to like raise your hand while you're, you know, and then they would come and pause the system so you could go to the bathroom. And the second you came back and unpaused, it kept the second someone hung up, it was calling. So this is so crazy. I was in Canada and we were calling Americans. Wait, hold on. I didn't even know a lot about America at that point. We were in Canada and we were calling Americans about health insurance, maybe trying to sell them something. And they were calling these poor old people that you knew did not have, like, it was the most soul-sucking thing I've ever done. So maybe part of my inability or that the reflex is because of that really horrible experience,
right,
of this like dialer asking people for, you know, that. So, and we've talked about how we're global. In Dubai, most of the agencies in Dubai hand their agents, because you're hired 50-50. So it reminds me of this work thing I had where like you're just a rabbit in a wheel. Like that's all you are, running for somebody who's like shoving you in there every day and telling you to run, because these guys are like 50-50, but they're giving them, and it's mental, because if you try to explain to a Dubai agent like how futile what they're having you do is, they don't see it that way. They think it's amazing that the company is handing them a list of names and numbers and telling them to sit down and call. Wow. Do you remember when Anthony did it? How many did he get out of that? And how often did he call?
I mean, he literally, I think, called for a week straight and didn't get a single
nothing.
One.
That's what these Dubai. So they're closing like 4 deals, but they're spending hours a day on these lists of people that do not want to hear from you. And I think that's also the thing too, because we've both been in retail. And I remember one time I worked in retail and the manager wanted me to greet every person and ask if I could help them. And I would feel people bristle when I would go over to say something to them. And if the manager wasn't looking, I wouldn't do it, because I'm like, they can see I work here. Right. If someone needs help, like that's more my mentality. Yeah. Like if someone needs help, me asking isn't necessarily going to achieve a sale. It might achieve me. And how many times have you walked in and like, and they're on you like white on rice too, because some of them there's like a slight commission bonus or something. Yeah. And you're like, I'm just looking, like, please.
There were literally stores I wouldn't go in because I knew it was like a commission-based store, and they would just come at you, and I'm like, okay, I've worked in retail for 100 years. I really do not need your help.
No. And like, guess what? If I do, I will come find you.
Yeah, I will ask.
I will see you folding.
Yep.
So like with real estate, like I know that's a way. I know it's a way to find leads. I know that. I prefer to be authentic and organic, and I even Ted, I pay like, so I always woke up when I was doing open houses, and believe me, let's put open houses in perspective. You are not required to be anywhere in our business. No. So out of a 7-day work week, if you need a 5-hour day for open houses, what are you crying about?
I mean, for real.
Do you say 5 hours you have to be somewhere? Like, but it, you know, even at that though, it can be arduous, because if no one comes, or you know what I'm saying, like it can feel away. And I remember I just was like, I won't do this forever. This won't be forever. I'm not going to have to do this forever. No. Because I'm going to build enough of a base, or I'm going to make enough money that so like the day that I could pay for leads is when my business really kind of took a next step. So if you're somewhere and you feel like your business isn't growing, it's time to invest a little more.
Right.
And I didn't suddenly dump $3,000 a month into leads. That didn't happen. It happened over time. Like they would call and I'd be like, yeah, I've got 3 or 4 closes this month. And they called me like, hey, we have leads. Do you want to consider it? Tell me, how much is it? And they'd be like, $100 a month. I'm like, sign me up. So it was like, and I finally got to the place where they call me now and I'm like, no, thank you. Like I have enough. Like I have enough. I don't, because The only reason I would see collecting more was to try and do it something team related.
Right.
You know how little interest I have in that. So, yeah. So like, I think your goal, you need to think of it like, I need to talk about this at our meeting on Monday, but you need to think about it like, as you start, don't get greedy with money. You have to reinvest your money you got to keep putting back into your business for your business to grow.
Right.
So you can't like spend every one of your things on your personal life. You've got to spend business. And that's the thing. Leads are a business expense.
They are. No, absolutely.
But before I could afford like a realtor.com, I was using Facebook, and they have like, you could take a quick class on Facebook algorithms and their marketing, whatever. And you can learn how to kind of create a meme and push it. And you could do as little as $5. That's a coffee day.
Right.
So I told myself, I'm like, $5 a day. So when I first started, something else I did, $5 a day, because I wanted my network to know I was doing this. And I would have a little post of cute house like most people would want, and be like, hey, who's looking to buy under $250K? Because that would be my very warmest market.
Right.
Was $250K. And then, and then the leads would slowly come in. And so that was like my first taste of leads coming to me paid.
Right.
And then the rest of it was open houses. And then like, utilizing Messenger or social media platforms with, you might say this next, but going into groups for rentals or like finding people that could benefit from home buying and may not know they're capable.
Got it. I like that.
I know. I'm giving all my cards because most of the people listening to this won't do it.
No. What about knocking on doors?
I also don't do that.
Or like hangers. Like little like door
I
hangers.
think those are dumb. Mailers and hangers I think are silly, and mostly because when they're on my door, I throw them out immediately.
Oh, I do too, fully. Every single time.
Maybe somebody pays attention.
I never look at them. I don't like mail, so I'm not going to like anything that's
the thing. Mail tends to be associated with bills.
Right.
So I don't want to be in the same.
And I'm not going to look at one and be like, oh, yeah, let me call that agent. I need to buy a house.
Maybe the big city. I can't think where it would work. Like, this town is too small that everybody at least knows one agent.
Right.
So why would a mailer work?
Yeah.
I feel like in a big city it'd be different. You may not know one agent.
Right. No, that's fair. I mean, I think if it's in a larger place, that would make sense because maybe you don't have enough connections to know who's going to be good and not. But in a smaller town, you definitely don't.
Cracking up because the other thing too is because there are so many agents. I was like, I will invariably send a mailer to an agent because you mail carte blanche the neighborhood.
Right.
And which happened, funny enough, to me like a week or two ago. An agent's like, just sold a house in your neighborhood. I'm looking at that agent. I'm like, no, you didn't. I know every house that's sold in here, who had it listed and who brought the buyer, because half of it was me.
Right.
None of it was you.
It was not.
I was like, lies. Like,
so insane.
That went out to our whole neighborhood. And I'm just like,
so insane.
Yeah. And there's 2 agents in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
So, and it's like 52 houses. We're not talking like, to give you perspective, there's 2 agents in our 52 house neighborhood.
Right.
So door knocking, some people love it. Some people have wild success at it. I have to do it. Did I tell you this?
Mm-mm.
I've never done door knocking before, like ever. Maybe we'll do a whole podcast about this, and I'll go do it this week. Okay, so my clients are so fussy, and they want to move here. They're not in a huge hurry, and he really wants to be near Boonesboro Country Club. We've been looking, and we finally found this like townhousey situation that he loves. He don't want to take care of the yard, and it's kind of like the what community for that area. Well, the house that's left to sell, there's brand spanking new, and he does not like the sticker price, and he keeps taking me back to things that sold, but the things that sold are much older.
Right.
So they're much cheaper. And he's like, well, I would pay for an older one. And I'm like, but there's an older one for sale. So
you're going to go ask.
Hi, my name's Renee. I literally have someone that wants to buy your house. Are you thinking of selling by any chance? Seriously, if not, no problem. Seriously, if not, no worries. Wow. I told my client I would knock on these doors.
I really want to hear how this goes.
I'm not done it yet, clearly. I need to do it. I literally even told them I would do it. I'm still dragging my feet. To be fair, I've been sick for like 4 months.
No, it's true.
So like that kind of extra step has not been like possible for me. Even Chad said today, he's like, you're like another person. Like I showed up this morning like bing, bing, bing. Right? He's like, oh, she's back. He's like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
You're ready. You're ready.
Bing, bing.
Ready to go. Yeah. So we'll end with this one.
Okay.
Expired listings.
That's so funny because we're about to get our little girl Dexy.
Go back
I also don't know anything about these. And the other week, sorry, there's like something in my mug. Totally watching these. Chad, did we clean these?
You did, I promise.
It's clean now.
It's clean. It's perfect.
Oh, shoot, I just smacked my mic. Okay, so we've hired a little Dexy girl we love so much, and she's so great. And the other day we came in, these two boys walked in and asked if I could get them access to the expired listings. And I'm like, I mean, yes, but it's for agents.
Right, we should be using those.
Oh, and there's that.
Which I honestly, until we had talked about that, I had never even thought about it. I was like, oh my gosh, could agents not literally be going through and finding expireds?
So then I tasked Anthony. We had someone that worked for us once. And I had him call. Oh, no. He started a list. Okay, because here's the truth. Like, if you've been in the business for like a year, you probably can tell me of at least a handful of agents that are buyers that can't find homes. So here is a network of people you could door knock. Right? Because this guy can't find a home because his budget's $200K and he wants to be in this neighborhood or this zip code or whatever. You can go in, look at what's selling for $200K, what neighborhoods, and you can literally, right? So you could do this, or you could go into the withdrawns and the expireds, and you could search for the ones that were withdrawn recently or expired recently, and then find out don't call. This is what. The guy he started giving me a list of the agent's numbers that had it listed. Not calling the previous agent.
Not going to work that way.
Could you give me your client's number? I was like, dude, think this one through. I do not want to call the previous agent. And it's so funny you say this because I'm trying to get that Amherst house back on the market. And he said the agents have been after him because they're going through the expired.
Going through the expired trying to find it.
You got to think, in my opinion, when I think about Dexy making these calls, everybody's calling. So how do you do it different? You've got because everyone's calling. Yeah. Every agent has access to the same list of expires and the same list of withdrawals, and we're in our area in a housing shortage.
Right.
So agents want listings. So how do you get your foot in the door? Like, how do you make that initial phone call something unique enough that they're like, oh, here's another one. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right. No, that's fair.
And that's what I got to spend the weekend thinking about, because poor Texie's going to try and make this. She's so sweet, though. I feel like she may be, because really, I think the answer to that question rests somewhere in the space of you're calling to help this person.
Right.
What did you need? What was not working for you before? Like finding a way to help them. Versus like, I saw your house is expired. Do you want me to come give you a quote for their listing? Like, no.
Right?
No. So, I haven't done that yet either. And I'm probably not going to do what Dexy's going to do, but I want to make sure she's equipped.
Yeah, make sure
to try and be successful at it.
So. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can be getting leads. Many ways.
I don't want to hear excuses. Swear when agents are like, I have no business. I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
I said this the other week because somebody was like, I did this, or a South African said this, one of our South African agents, I'm just waiting. I said, stop. What are you waiting for? To fail? The only answer to that is I'm just waiting to fail. Right. If you are just waiting, and Chad, am I wrong? Does this not apply to life? If you are just waiting, failure is the only thing on the other end of that sentence.
Yeah.
Everything else requires action, and wild success requires massive action to where you're like Chad and I, and we're like this.
Right.
Because massive action actually requires sacrifice. You're going to be exhausted until one day you're not.
Yep.
And it's the same mentality I had when I first started real estate. Like, I have to do this until I don't. I have to do this until I don't. And every time I thought like that, the until I don't got shorter and shorter, so it's just finding a balance so you don't burn out, but just know that wick's going to get short.
No, it's true. I mean, even when I was a paint contractor, I painted 7 days a week.
Right.
For the first 4 months.
You have to
until I didn't have to.
until you don't have to. Yeah, you have to run. It's like I had to do open houses. I don't do them anymore. I literally don't do them anymore. Do not.
No.
And probably a lot of the way I did them before doesn't work anymore because it's a thing. It's an evolution, right? So I could tell you to go do them. I could tell you how I did them.
Yeah.
But you have to get out there and figure out how to make them successful now.
Yep. Because again, the whole point being income producing activities.
Get out there.
Get
out there.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do an open house, door knock and like for hours a day.
Yeah.
Not like I hit 3.
Right. Do it until you have a client.
That's it.
Do it until you have a client.
Sunrise to sunset. That's how they used to till the back.
That's right.
That's how they fed themselves. Same difference.
Yeah.
So,
oh, thank you. That was great.
Hey, you're
I like that.
You know I'm good for a long conversation.
Absolutely. You want to do a fun fact?
Fun Fact Friday!
Fun Fact Friday! This one is very interesting. I like this one. So, in several major cities like London, New York City, Toronto, other countries around the world, there are entire buildings and developments that exist solely for the purpose of hiding vent shafts, utilities, cell phone towers, railways, and simply to give the illusion of occupation.
What?
Did you realize this?
In my country?
Yeah, it's in Toronto too. Yeah. London, New York City so I guess just to make sure that the city looks appropriate, so there's not like all these crazy things going all over the place. It's literally like they put like a box on top of a vent. Like there are buildings that the city literally built just to cover certain things up, to make it look like it's not sad, to give the illusion of occupation, or I guess the illusion of.
I have to Google this now.
A cityscape.
Because I've always found it very interesting that if you do look at cities, it's always like, you see how like leading up to it, it's like buildings, and it's like bam, like all of a sudden there's this like, and everywhere around the world it does that.
So imagine if they didn't have those, like how many like different like vent shafts and like cell phone towers and things would just be like scattered all around these major cities. They cover them up with buildings. Had no idea. Isn't that cool?
So you can't get in it? You can't get in the building.
So it's not even a building. It's literally just to cover it up. But it looks like a building. It looks like a building. Isn't that fascinating?
No, that's so crazy. I love that Chad finds this stuff.
Love these facts. All right.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
Cheers.